Your neighbor knows things about your dog that you don't. They know what time the barking starts. They know how long it lasts. They've heard things through the wall that you will never hear, because you're never there when they happen. Most dogs look completely normal the moment you walk back through the door. Calm, maybe a little excited, acting like nothing happened. Which from their perspective, nothing did. But I've observed the evidence. You have too. The sofa cushion dragged onto the floor. The corner of the rug that wasn't folded like that this morning. Or just the very specific silence of a dog who knows the atmosphere is heavy. When you walked in, you probably assumed it was boredom. Maybe mischief, maybe just a bad day. But behavioral researchers have been doing something for decades that most of us haven't. They leave a camera running, walk out, and watch. And what those cameras capture, heartbeat by heartbeat, is one of the most revealing findings in animal psychology. Your dog isn't just missing you when you're gone. Something specific is happening in their brain, and it starts before you even close the door. Researchers installed cameras in homes and left. The whining and howling began at an average of 3 minutes and 15 seconds after departure. Destructive behavior within 7 minutes. 7 minutes. That's how long it takes before the shoes are at risk. But the more interesting finding was what came after that first frantic phase. The barking, the door scratching gradually subsides. And from the outside, if you came home to a quiet house, you'd assume they had settled. They haven't. What the cameras showed was that as the noise decreased, the panting increased. Their heart rate stayed elevated. The dog had just shifted from one expression of distress to a different one. The noise stopped, but the panic didn't. The silence between those frantic spikes is not calm. It's exhaustion. Before we even talk about how to fix this, let's talk about what happens before you even leave. Dogs with separation anxiety often begin showing measurable stress while you are still in the house, not when the door closes, before the bag even comes out. Through simple conditioning, dogs learn to chain your entire morning routine backwards. You check your phone, you put on your shoes, you glance at the time. Each of those actions, repeated hundreds of mornings in a row, has become a signal. And the signal means one thing: I'm about to be alone. By the time you reach the door, some dogs are already panting. Some are following you from room to room, hoping somehow that this time you'll stay. The standard advice for years has been to pick up your keys randomly so the cue loses its meaning. But researchers found that making departures unpredictable doesn't reduce fear. For some, it increases it, because the problem isn't the keys. The problem is the uncertainty. Your dog isn't afraid of your shoes. They're afraid you won't come back. But a massive longitudinal study found something that surprised a lot of trainers. Emotional goodbyes didn't cause the anxiety. Long farewells, big hugs at the door, no significant effect. What mattered was the return. Dogs whose owners came home to find damage and responded with visible frustration. Those dogs were 6 times more likely to develop separation problems. The dog doesn't connect your frustration to the chair it destroyed 4 hours ago. What the dog connects your frustration to is your arrival. And gradually, your arrival becomes something to brace for. A dog that's anxious about you coming home is a dog that's more anxious about you leaving. The two ends of the absence get linked. The whole day becomes a loop of anticipatory stress. And the most common piece of advice owners receive: just get a second dog. It has essentially no support in the research, because the separation isn't about loneliness in the general sense. It's about the specific absence of a specific person. A second dog doesn't fix that. It just means 2 dogs in the house having different problems. Here's something that rarely gets mentioned outside veterinary research. Researchers measured long-term cortisol levels in dog-owner pairs over months. The levels were completely synchronized. Stressed owner, stressed dog. Calm owner, calm dog. And the owner's stress was predicting the dog's, not the reverse. A dog carrying a chronically elevated stress baseline doesn't start the separation from neutral. They start it from a deficit. Most products treat the 8 hours you are gone. But the actual point of intervention is the other 16 hours. What does have consistent evidence is graduated exposure, starting with seconds. Walking to the door, touching the handle, coming back in. Building a history of return so incrementally that the dog's nervous system has no chance to spike. It feels almost absurdly slow. It feels like nothing. But you are providing enough repetitions that the dog's internal prediction system updates. What they are responding to is the absence of a specific nervous system. Yours. The dogs that struggle most aren't badly trained. They just haven't yet learned in their nervous system that the door opening and the door closing are the exact same event, just in a different order.